Welcome to FuzzFeed206, everyone. Hello, I'm VesperBat.
Hello, I'm CPD80.
And Project Grizzle.
Here to do a little, say it, Nightfall?
What?
Yeah, let's do the Nightfall.
Little Nightfall action.
Whatever.
Which one is it, CPD80?
It's our least favorite.
Say the name. Say it. It's the one with the giant shank.
It rhymes with Schmal and Schmaber.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Don't worry about me, everyone. Here we go.
We won't.
I'm so glad. That. Okay.
Very hard mode. Okay.
Hello, viewer. Oh no, CPD left the party?
Well, it's bound to happen eventually.
Join the party, CPD80. Oh, there he goes.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Somebody tripped over the cord.
So let's just go ahead and go. Let's just go with it. So a couple of quick shout outs since we're going with it. I wanted to just really commend the students from the Little Red Schoolhouse Elizabeth Irwin School in New York. These students represent a portion of those who attend there. And they visited Seattle to talk about police reform. They stopped by and met with the Seattle City Attorney, Pete Holmes. They met with members of the monitoring team, Peter Ehrlichman and Ron Ward. And they also met with Christina Fogg from the United States Department of Justice and me. Plus, they're touring the State Academy, the Washington State Criminal Justice Training Commission, and just so impressed by these kids. Just amazing. Very bright, very informed, and engaged. Great questions, and just left me really optimistic that we're seeing that level of engagement and interest. So one of them wants to be a police officer, so dear student, do follow that dream, and just remember the Seattle Police Department is always hiring. Also, quick shout out to our pal Dyer Oxley of Northwest Nerd and also My Northwest. Check it out. My Northwest Nerd was recently at SPD headquarters talking to us about what else? Twitch. So let's go ahead and see if we can't invite our friend back to the party.
Hey.
There he is.
Hey.
Hello. I'm inviting you to the fire team just because it's about ready to get really awful.
Oh, adventure.
There's my invite.
Well, I'm down.
Oh boy.
Good luck.
I'm joining, so give me a minute. I'll be there.
So, of course, I'll give you 98 ticks on the war stat. How's that? What's smacking me?
I'm back in. I'm back.
Okay, I gotcha.
So, should we just jump right into our week?
Let's do it. What are we talking about?
Well, I mean, obviously our biggest biggest event of the week was having 4 officers injured, 3 of them shot this week during an incident downtown. It was a convenience store robbery that escalated from there and ended up with the suspect being fatally injured as well. But yeah, 2 of our I think 3 of our officers went to the hospital. last one just got out today, and is recovering now, and just pretty tough. What was that, Thursday? It's all kind of a blur now.
Yeah, that was Thursday. Exactly.
Thursday. Yeah. So yeah, recounting our sort of how that unfolded for our office is, we started getting news calls about, just sort of a tense-sounding incident on the scanner. All the newsrooms are listening to scanners throughout the day, and I spent some time at the assignment desk doing exactly that, and I could hear in the background we started getting calls, officers looking for somebody, things just getting very tense sounding, and we were looking at the call, just looked like a shoplift, but it escalated pretty quickly, and all of a sudden we started getting, hearing from folks internally about what had happened, and knew we had some officers injured, and you and Patrick headed to the scene pretty quickly, and just try to get out info as it came in. We had a pretty big scene downtown, trying to get information, folks in the department wanting to, know whether their friends or colleagues had been hurt. Obviously,
and family members
going on downtown, and family members. And yeah, pretty awful thing to have happen just very suddenly in the middle of the day.
So there's a lot of different responsibilities there, right? Starting off with public safety, officer safety. We didn't know what we had. We know, right from the start, though, that officers have been shot, that there's a suspect down. His location was in question. Whether or not there was another suspect in this building was in question. The building was pretty much on lockdown. Everyone was sheltering in place. We had police from the sheriff's office, just about every federal agency that I've ever imagined, including Federal Protective Service and U.S. Postal Service. And our number one priority was just trying to make sure we could get some answers, and whether or not assess the public was going to be at risk, or anyone else was going to be in a position to launch gunfire at officers or just members of the public. So it was a very live scene. We set up something called Incident Command and Unified Command, which basically means everyone who's there is talking to each other. Everyone has a set role and responsibility, and the mission, of course, starts off with life safety. And so, our job, public information, it has its own, federal function. It's called ESF 13. Sounds really official, actually. But our job is just to make sure that the public knows what's going on and information is being shared. And so we set right down to it and started putting out information on our social channels. And, Twitter was our number one spot. It took us a while, a little bit, not a terrible amount of time, but just some time to kind of ascertain what was happening. And, certainly when you've got a shooting like that, we're not in the business of speculating. So it's really important that we are putting out some, vetted information, and that, people have current instructions about how to keep safe. So stay out of this area, avoid these streets. And, in this case, if you're in this building or in the nearby vicinity, stay where you are until further instructions. And I'm available for revive there, gents.
I've got access.
Many thanks. So, we were able to discover that there were no other suspects on scene. We discovered who the third suspect was. We discovered that we'd actually made one arrest fairly quickly. I definitely want some of that heavy ammo. And the third suspect, we were able to track down to a home in a nearby city. And so this all started off, I'm really sorry to report, over a robbery at a 7-Eleven. And to think that a 7-Eleven robbery where the things taken included soft drinks, beer, and snacks would result in loss of life, and near loss of life on the part of 3 officers is just discouraging. But such is the nature of policing. We never know what hand we're going to get dealt, and our folks got there quickly, acted courageously, and the rest has been posted in the blotter and in the charging docs. Before I turn it over to CPD to talk about kind of how these things work and the trajectory of who investigates what, I do just want to add that we couldn't be luckier with this outcome. These injuries that we had were very severe. One was a very near miss. It involved a gunshot to the ballistic armor that one officer is wearing, and so the protective armor actually saved her from serious injury. She was left with some bruising. Another officer was grazed in the hand by a bullet, and again, had that bullet been a little higher or lower, that could have been very dangerous and resulted in a serious injury as opposed to just that grazing injury. And the third one, an officer who was just discharged from the hospital, was struck in the jaw. And so to know that he was dispatched this day, or that he was discharged just days after this incident, is absolutely incredible. And so we can't say thank you enough to the surgeons at the area hospital that we took them to, the first responding medics from the Seattle Fire Department, the law enforcement partners who were present, and everyone in between who offered well wishes and support, including Airlift Northwest, who provided food to the officers and their families at the hospital. So for the investigative piece of this, I'm going to turn it over to CPD-80.
Well, when we talk about investigating something like this, it goes almost directly to what we call FIT, so our Force Investigations team, and they investigate the officer-involved shooting aspect of it, because we have somebody with either A, serious injuries, or B, in this case, death. So it's one of those things that we take very seriously, and they treat it like any other investigation where it's their goal to get to the bottom of exactly what led up to, what happened during, and what happened in the immediate moments after, because all of that plays a significant role in the officer's actions and whether or not anything criminal may or may not have happened. Not saying that that's the case here, but we want to be positive with absolutely everything that we do that it is 100% legal, because the public gives us an awful lot of trust to be able to go out there and do our job when it comes down to it. So the FIT team is there to ensure that all of those investigative steps are taken and that absolutely everything was done 100% proper. So what they'll do is they will interview the officers, any witnesses, any suspects that are available to talk to, and then they will take a look at all of the available evidence that happens to be there, to include dash camera, any surveillance video if there is any local media that happened to be there and may have caught something, All of that gets looked at as they go through their investigation.
Life form, I just want to note that Rasputin has a much better sense.
Yeah, that's pretty comprehensive.
He has a secret bunker with
And some of those procedures, those were designed in sort of in hand with DOJ monitoring team and whatnot, right?
Absolutely, yeah. The FIT team is one of those things that's still fairly new to the department, and it is one of those things that was born out of the Department of Justice coming in and helping us become a better department.
And for the viewers who are here, FIT stands for, again, one more time?
Force Investigations Team.
Cool. And they're there because we used force, specifically deadly force, in this incident when and we can't really talk about this too much, the actual particulars, because they're still very much under investigation, but deadly force was used, and that we can say FIT's investigating. Well, tell us about the other piece of this, right? Because there's two pieces. There's the piece.
So
yeah,
there's the piece where we investigate our force, and then there's also the investigation that happens into whatever crimes there were also, what led us to being there in the first place. So in this case, it was a shoplift turned robbery from all accounts. And that investigation happens in parallel with the FIT investigation. So any evidence that we recover from that then can also be used in... Hey, look at that. We're finished, guys. Can also be used
you know, they probably built that thing out of scrap from the Cosmic
to investigate the crime that brought us there in the first place. So there's nothing truly out of the ordinary that comes from these investigations, like the robbery or anything like that. It's just, it is a standard robbery investigation that we then have all of the other interviews that we can use as well. So it's an extra thorough robbery investigation.
And I think there was just an update in the news that one of the individuals was charged as an adult.
It sounds like it. Yeah. So yeah, as that investigation moves forward, we have a limited amount of time to move forward with charges. Typically, in larger cases, we can work with the courts to kind of make sure that that timeline is met in the best way possible, that is within the rule of law. And that's just one of those things that we will continue to work with the prosecutors to ensure that they have all the updates they need as our investigation continues.
So again, just to make sure I've got this straight, there was a robbery and then a shooting. Correct. Where a young man shot at our officers, injuring them. Our officers returned fire, exchanged gunfire with the young man. He was killed. So there's two separate investigations. Mm-hmm. One is the force investigation team investigation. The other one, the separate parallel investigation, is the violent crimes investigation, where the officers who were shot and shot at were victims. Do I have that right?
Correct. That's correct.
All right. So do you have anything to add there, Project?
No, I mean, it's glad that, you know, we were able to get out info to folks as quickly as we can. Glad the officers, you know, are doing as well as can be in other circumstances. And, yeah, it's, you know, always a lot going on where we work.
Yeah. This is just one of those things where, you know, it is so rare in our city, fortunately, for something like this to happen. The last time we had an officer shot was, I believe, in 2009, resulted in the murder of Officer Tim Breton. It's, you know, still...
And let's not leave out Britt in the process.
And Sergeant Gary Nelson, right? Brett Sweeney and Sergeant Gary Nelson. So it's something that touches on a lot of us, and it's certainly one of those things that adds a little bit of stress to the job, for those who are working in those emergency response capacities. But Sergeant Nelson was a detective sergeant who was going out to a scene for further investigation, and so certainly the thing is, the lesson here is you never know what's going to happen. So you always have to be smart and exercise safe precautions, and definitely wear your vest. So I just brought us here just in case we can do any public service in the Plague Lands, in case Fallen Walker should show up. But we've got a few more minutes to kill. We're about 20 minutes into the stream, so figure we'll...
So, one thing that I was wondering about, and I know I've seen some questions about elsewhere, like, what happens, obviously, I mean, there's, you get shot at work, or your squad mate gets shot, and there's some sort of psychological ramifications that, can come from that. Like, what happens now? Like, the officers that come back to work, I mean, obviously there's some folks on administrative, pretty standard administrative leave, either if they discharged a weapon or, for involvement. But, when officers get in a shooting situation, what happens after that?
Well,
I mean, aside from the investigative piece.
Yeah, there's always options available for officers who are involved in a shooting at some level or are affected by a shooting in some level. So we have what they call the peer support team, who can connect officers with resources, be it physical, them being able to go in and get medical help if need be, or them being able to get psychological help if need be, or just being there to talk to somebody. And we do take good care of officers through the peer support team. So it's a option for officers to get taken care of in the best way possible.
And we've got department chaplain. CPD was just talking about the peer support network. It's a great work done by Jeremy Wade and Kim Anderson. Also, we've got hospital response team. So if there's an officer who's hurt in the line of duty, whether it's something rare but terrible like this last incident, or maybe a little bit more frequent, which is like a vehicle collision, we have a hospital response team that can go out and also see to it that the officer and the officer's family are taken care of, and that everything that they need in regards to insurance, questions about process, department support, just someone who's there who's not directly affected who can help coordinate. Because when a loved one gets hurt at work and they're hospitalized and they're going to be kept overnight or so, it creates a bit of a strain. It's certainly very, very stressful. So having these folks on the department who kind of know what the drill is, have been through it before, and are there in a support capacity is pretty good, and it's certainly something that we're very proud to be able to provide. So, I mean, that's pretty much peer support, hospital response team, and other departments. There's also different programs that are not necessarily through the department, but they're affiliated with the department that don't require any sort of official handling. They're more anonymous. So if you are impacted by an event and it's taking a toll on you, you want to talk to someone, certainly there's support that you can get through the department, through personnel. At the same time, if you want to do that on the down low and talk to someone confidentially, that exists too. Because sometimes it's hard to ask for help, and sometimes people struggle in silence, and they have some degree of confidence knowing that they can talk to someone who is also a police officer or a firefighter, who's been through these things before and can offer some sort of perspective or make a referral. So that's again pretty cool. Making sure that we're supporting those who are doing the hardest jobs and taking care of them in their times of need. I mean, that's pretty much in our DNA. So good stuff. Hey, what's coming up in a few days there, Project Grizzle? Anything
My
big?
vacation. I'm going to Australia. It's going to be great.
Woohoo! It's winter in Australia.
Winter is coming.
Yeah. I just.
I'm sure it's a very unpleasant time of year.
So MayDay is coming up, I believe, if my calendars are correct. I have multiple calendars just for this exact purpose. And so that means, what does that mean, Sean?
Oh,
Means,
well, MayDay.
I'm not even gonna. It means that we are gonna have a wonderful, safe, calm immigration march during the day. And then, I'm assuming I'll get to go home at a reasonable hour and see our families.
I think that's a safe assumption. However, experience dictates that probably won't be the case, because unfortunately in Seattle, since about 2012, the immigration and labor marches have been punctuated by a more impromptu gathering that has, again, for several years going now, resulted in property destruction and injuries to police. And so, without going into the politics of it all, just it's enough to say that these are gatherings that, when they start off, they're constitutionally protected speech. Everyone has a right to gather, demonstrate, regardless of political viewpoint, political ideology, or opinion, and that's something that we support, even if they don't have a permit. But the unfortunate aspect of this is that there's been a number of people during these events, during these later non-related to immigration labor march events, who take it upon themselves to look for corporate brands to deface their property, to intimidate news crews and reporters, to anonymously throw objects at police. Hi, buddy. Oh, I'll be right up, honey. Say hi. Say hi. I've got a visitor, guys.
Hi, Isaac.
Hey, I'll be right up, honey. Go to bed. So anyways, long story short, we're there to provide public safety.
Yeah.
And some of these folks don't care about public safety. That's not a blanket statement, because that's not true. However, experience dictates that when enough people gather for this unpermitted after event, a few who are present have been, pretty intent on inflicting property destruction or violence against other people. So that's MayDay in Seattle.
So
hooray.
that's a question we've been getting online lately, and to a degree every year. Like, if this march doesn't have a permit, and history has shown that I mean, it's certainly not the group as again as a blanket statement, but that there's a chance that some people in the crowd may break things or endanger public safety. Why do we allow it to happen, or whatever is basically the question we get.
I mean, well, the answer is well, actually, no. Yeah, go for it, CPD.
Well, I think the answer is pretty much what VesperBat said not too long ago. Is we as a community, value the opportunity to go out and speak your mind. It's when it becomes violent, or people get hurt, or the property destruction ramps up to a certain point that we're talking lots of oh boy, somebody just ran me down. When property damage just gets really out of hand, we as a community decide, hey, you know what, it's time for this to end, and that's not what we're about here. We're more than willing to let you march without a permit. That a permit should not be a reason to keep somebody from speaking their mind or saying what they believe in. And that, as met in Seattle, is one of our oh, somebody just got wasted. Yeah, that's just one of those things that we hold very dear. It is a right in Seattle to speak your mind and do it pretty much when you want. And we'll help you do that.
I mean, that's pretty much, again, our core function, which is supporting the Constitution, supporting people's constitutional rights. And, you know, everyone gets a clean slate. Just because there's been some past behavior by a select few, that is not cause to make any kind of blanket generalization about other people who have similar ideology. And so, you know, for us, it's a green light until it's not, until people are hurt, until there's serious property destruction. And, you know, certainly we are optimistic, as always, that this is going to be across the board peaceful demonstration this year, as we've seen a number of times with large-scale demonstrations in 2017. But we'll be prepared in case events dictate otherwise. And of course, we do about 300 of these a year. Most of them are not even a big deal, don't even make the news. And so it's not going to be our first rodeo. And, you know, coincidentally, we'll have more on this on a stream later this week on Sunday evening. We're going to talk to Officer Drew Fowler, who is a bicycle officer who has, you know, provided public safety services on a police bike during MayDay 2016. And we're going to get his take and his perspective on the events this upcoming MayDay and just what it's like to be working that assignment. So, but guys, we have hit our mark, and it's, I think, time to declare the Cosmodrome safe for public use. So, any closing thoughts? Last words, gents?
Can we all just take a second to recognize that we finally beat the Fallen Saber as a group?
Yay!
About time, right?
Yes. It only took us, what was that, our 4th or 5th week of trying that?
Let me do my happy dance. Maybe start a campfire, roast a marshmallow. Yeah, I don't have anything else. How about you, Project?
No, I got nothing.
All right, well, Guardians, have a safe week. We'll see you this upcoming Sunday evening. And in the meantime, eyes up, Guardians.